Welcome, thanks for joining me, astrologer Patrick Arundell, and my Cancer New Moon deep dive video. I'm going to go through the astrology with you, but please stay with me. I will then share each of the 12 zodiac signs from Aries through to Pisces and give you a flavour of what you can expect over the following month, which is the time of influence of a new moon in terms of the ascendant, sun or the moon. If you're new to my channel, thank you for joining this. This is very much a community. If you have any thoughts, please do share them. If you're a returning visitor, your views and interactions are truly appreciated. We found, as I've been sharing recently, that about 50% of people who enjoy my videos are not subscribers. If that's you, please help the channel to thrive. Click that sub button, but also the bell notification symbol. Every time I drop a video, you should get an alert. Now, a big part of my role is working with people on a one-to-one basis as a consultant. If I can help you, why not check out my testimonials below? I don't edit these. As they come in, I share as is. You can explore how other people have found the experience. If you'd like to get your free written daily horoscope fired to your device, you can subscribe below. I also provide an overview of each day, the primary influence, so we get the big picture, but also can enjoy our zodiac forecast. Patrons, very much appreciated. You can become a patron for $3 a month, and I share a lot of extra information to patrons. I'll upload a new moon factoid with this video too. Finally, if you'd like to make that journey beyond a zodiac forecast and embrace the power of natal astrology, if you give me 3 pieces of personal birth data, I can produce for you your life roadmap report. This will give you searing insights into the patterns that are played out in your life so far, but also my special package of 30% off, you can get your 12 months transits forecast. If you know your tropical astrology, why not check out my draconic package? That's based on moving the North Node to the vernal point. It can change some people's charts radically. It's very much to do with understanding the roots of our being and our sole purpose. Again, please see the link below for more. So a Cancer new moon, this one this year occurs across the 5th and 6th of July. Please see on the screen now where it occurs in all the major cities of the world. This one occurs at 14 degrees and 23 minutes, so pretty well the midpoint through the sign of Cancer. Now each sign has 3 subsections of 10 degrees, decans, and this decan, where this event occurs, is subruled by Mars, and that's a bit of an irony if you think about it, because they have very different energies. The moon's very receptive, caring, protective. Mars is very thrusting, energetic, risk-taking. But people who are born in the 2nd decan of Cancer, which is around about the 2nd of July through to the 12th, can be a bit more no-nonsense in their approach. But generally Cancer people can be a bit reluctant to have outright confrontation. If we think about the animal that rules this sign, the crab goes left, it goes right, it digs down in the sun, it's peering out carefully through the sand, observing what's going on, but can, if stirred, run forwards and apply a mighty nip, but generally quite cautious. But don't forget, crabs have a very hard shell. Cancer people can be tenacious. It's a cardinal sign. It's a sign of leadership. Never underestimate a Cancer. Often end up in positions of influence, often in an executive or management role, because Cancers, whether it's domestically or professionally, have a real gift for marshalling resources very shrewdly indeed. But that midpoint at 14 degrees and 23 minutes is also very close to a fixed star called Canopus. Now Canopus can be mainly fortunate. It has a mixture of energies between Saturn being steady and Jupiter being self-confident. But most of all, it's very much to do with voyaging and journeys. Now, of course, the sign of Cancer is very much about atmospheres, the environment, feeling comfortable, feeling safe. about nurture. So if you are heading off somewhere over the next 4 weeks, it's important to listen to your gut instinct when you're in that location about where you do feel most at ease. But we can travel and journey from the comfort of our home through our minds, but also through the internet, which is one of the great ways that we can explore. But this is a particular fixed star that can be very much to do with a change from evil to good. We could certainly do with that in the world that we live in currently. So let's hope that those energies are evoked. Now also, a new moon is when the power of the sun, which is the life force for us all, the luminary which lights up our days, and the moon, which if we think about lights up our nights, particularly on the full moon, they come together in unison, so they're complementing each other. Whereas a full moon, they're competing with one another. But the interesting thing is the moon obviously rules the sign of Cancer, so we could argue it's the most influential new moon of the year. But because the sun is in the 12th house of the sign it rules, of Leo, perhaps not quite such a proactive new moon in terms of physical action, but obviously the new moon in Cancer can be very much to do with the physical home we live in. So perhaps we're going to be very busy in terms of reimagining that place, colour-wise, paint-wise, perhaps to do with our home furnishings. If we're in the northern hemisphere, it could be the enjoyment of our gardens. And talking of the environment, if we can immerse ourselves, water, in that environment, or get to swim, be near the sea, be near lakes, rivers, that could be a really good thing to do. But Cancers have an incredible perception for any place they find themselves in of asking the question quickly, do I feel at ease here? And so we can all learn from that. We don't feel at ease over the next 4 weeks. We know what we can do. We can find somewhere else that we feel more comfortable in. Now, if you do have any cardinal placements, that's Aries, Cancer, Libra or Capricorn, between 11 and 17 degrees, they're going to be angles to this event. Not necessarily in a bad way, but certainly they're going to be evoked. A new moon can, of course, be an opportunity to set our intentions. And that's what I'll be showing with the zodiac forecast for each sign, and going through the delineations to show how it can change. But that cardinality, very much about action. So we need to be mindful of those Cancerian energies, which can be more nurturing, can be more protective. We can be more aware of security in general in our lives. But it's also important not to be so guarded that we actually kill off any impulse to take action. And on the screen now, I'm showing the event chart from a Placidus viewpoint. And that kind of makes the point. It's very late, the ascendant, in the sign of Pisces, which, like Cancer, is a water sign. So it's 26 and 49, but it means the path of fortune's right on that ascendant. But if we see the position of the moon and the sun, they're in house 4, so very much in keeping with the energies of Cancer. But you can see we've also got Venus in the sign of Cancer, and that's linking back to that part of fortune and the position of Neptune. It's a bit wider, so if we can show imagination in terms of reordering our homes or our immediate environment in a more pleasing, calm and peaceful way, or we do enjoy that immersion in nature or water, then our timing would be absolutely perfect. What's not to like? Well, the biggest challenge to this event is the nodal axis. The North Node in Aries since last July, and the South Node in Libra. Now they're going to move again in January, but what we've got is a gap of 3 degrees and 37 minutes. And what I would say is the position of the North Node, particularly the point of destiny, is drawing us all towards manifesting our individuality. Now, the nodal axis is very much linked to eclipses, and if you recall, we had the total solar eclipse in the spring in the sign of Aries. pushing us, encouraging us all to remember that we have a voice, we have an identity. We shouldn't lose that identity. Sometimes in the world we live in, a lot of it is to do with, say, fashion, trends, fitting in. So that nodal axis, important to try to have that confidence. And I feel the right angle from the north and the south to the position of the sun and the moon is just saying that it's good to be nurturing, it's good to be caring, it's good to be protective, but not if it's killing our desire or ability to be true to ourselves. So we shouldn't let our caution pulverize our passion. So that's really the central theme of the Placidus chart. Now that's based on Greenwich, not because I'm based in the UK, but it's because of the primary meridian, or the prime meridian. Now in terms of the solar perspective, it's very similar. It's just that Neptune and the part of fortune and Saturn all go into house 12. So the solar perspective helps us to relate to this event collectively, and we've still got the nodal axis in a T-square with the moon and the sun. It's just that Venus moves into house 4. And I feel that that really does give us a sense of what's going on at the current time. We can listen to our instincts, but Saturn is pushing us, really, particularly in its retrograde, to be much more conscious of the parts of our emotional health, or our spiritual, psychological health, which are not working quite as well as they could. And I don't mean just as individuals, I mean as a collective. Saturn, of course, is coming to the end of its overall journey through the heavens, which takes 29.5 years. The sign of Pisces is a culmination. Also, Neptune's coming to the end of its 160-year journey in the sign of Pisces. They're both going to move into Aries next year, but back into Pisces. So we've been given some contra energies here. The North Node's asking us to embrace what makes us individual, but we're still clearing up the loose ends. So I feel that those loose ends, those instincts, but also those fears, we have an opportunity with this new moon over the next 4 weeks to try to clarify what's important to us in terms of our emotional needs. But in some ways that could mean being a little more vulnerable, or to examine, explore where we don't feel quite self-assured, where we may feel that we've got past pain or things that haven't worked for us, perhaps to do with the nurturing phases of our life where there may have been challenges or traumas or a lack of support. So however we want to explore this, through watching videos or checking out some self-help courses, or perhaps talking to people that we can really trust, or having some counselling, or downloading an app. All of these things can be just as important as the physical home that we're in, or the physical space we find ourselves in, where we can exercise our power, like the crab, to move, to redirect our location, but it's what's inside us that's our true home, and that's really defined by the sign of Cancer. When we have the new moon next month in the sign of Leo, that's an opportunity to fire ourselves up, be much more passionate, creative and playful. But this is a time to be much more mindful of what's going on inside of us. Now, please stay with me as I go through each of the 12 zodiac signs, from Aries through to Pisces, to give you that flavour of what you can expect. So Aries, we need to be mindful of the role of your ruler Mars, which is actually forging a very stable angle to Saturn. That combination means that the thrust of Mars, which at the moment is quite a lot to do with getting your finances in order, getting the foundations of your world working well, is balanced. You're not going to push too hard. Now the link through to the combination of the moon, the sun and Venus in Cancer wouldn't surprise me if you are trying to remodel your home in some way, catching up on some of those do-it-yourself tasks that may have been neglected, or perhaps making some fundamental changes, new kitchen, new bathroom, moving all together. But most of all, the fourth house and the energy in the sign of Cancer points towards a desire for a connection, and that connection to people who are really meaningful to you. Because there's no doubt about it, over the last year and a quarter, Saturn may have seen some people make way. Some of it may have been your choice. You may feel that you're naturally coming to the end of that big cycle, and you're much more focused on the people who are really meaningful, and that's something to truly celebrate. But if there are things you want to do physically around your home, a great chance to do it. But most of all, I think it's the sentiment you're looking for at the moment, the sentiment of those emotional connections, and a great opportunity to burnish them in a positive way in the next month. Taurus, with your ruling planet Venus so close to the Sun and the Moon, that's a real asset. It means for you, although the sign of Cancer is about feeling, it's also your third house. So everyday communication, your connection to siblings, neighbours, your ideas, in some ways your beliefs, but you can express those ideas with a good deal of charm with Venus so closely in the mix. That doesn't mean to say that you're going to be insincere, but it also points towards the connection that you do have with those people in your everyday life can actually be very fulfilling. I feel that this can be a very positive new moon for you. It's true that Saturn and Mars are in an alliance, and of course Mars in your sign is pushing you to be more direct, more dynamic, but I feel that you can do so in a way which has a real purpose, particularly around your future. So if you're having meetings and discussions or trying to express ideas that are to do with really manifesting something you feel passionate about, there's a great opportunity over the next 4 weeks. So Gemini, I think it's easy for astrologers to think about the second house when they're sharing videos as being very much about everyday money, which it is, but we also need to think about the sign of Cancer, the host, which is about how we feel about things. So how do you feel about your self-worth, which is also represented by the second house? What's your personal value? Do you put too much attachment on the material plane, or are you someone who's more laid back? Either way, this can be a time when you can transform something, perhaps feel better about yourself even if you don't have an enormous amount of loot in the bank. On the other hand, you could be someone who's fantastically successful but feels a sense of emptiness. So we're all working at this principle of feeling better about ourselves for the whole of our lives. But with Venus still in your second house, in the sign of Cancer, you do have a brilliant chance to transform things, particularly because Saturn is right at the top of your chart. And if you are applying for jobs, having interviews, meeting people, sharing ideas you've got, if you work for yourself, for example, I feel that something that has been on the back burner for some while could be coming into the open and really manifesting in a much more substantive way. So generally, I think the financial equation is a good one at the present time. It is, however, true that the second Capricorn full moon in succession on the 21st of July will just test progress when it comes to the ins and outgoings of your resources. So Cancer, for you, this is that part of the year when you can really embrace all that's good, even magical, about the qualities of your sign. And because Venus, the planet of attraction, is in the mix, there's a wonderful chance for you to perhaps reset your identity. Even if you're a dedicated follower of fashion, a few tweaks here and there could give your confidence a boost. But most of all, the T-square with that nodal axis is just reminding you that even if you are successful, even if you've been heading in a very dynamic direction with the support of that total solar eclipse, it's still really important to feel that you're creatively part of it. You're not just part of a machine, a big organization. But if you are someone who is very artistic, has a lot of flair, and you want to showcase that, over the next 4 weeks is a fabulous chance to do that. But if your attraction is more around your relationship prospects, certainly don't be surprised with Venus here too, that more than one person shows an interest in you over the next few weeks. But it's all about having the confidence to really be in touch with the most authentic version of yourself. That's not to say that you're faking it, but you're not getting caught up in giving people what they want. Just be naturally you. To be honest, Leo, 12th house new moons can actually be a little bit challenging, particularly for someone who really wants to feel the best version of yourself, wants to be very confident and charismatic, all the qualities that mark out Leo. But because of the T-square going across your 9th and 3rd houses, something could come out into the open over the next few weeks in a conversation, not necessarily in a sinister way, but you could think or just chat with someone and perhaps see a scenario in your life with a fresh pair of eyes. But actually it can be a pair of eyes which helps you to release something that hasn't quite been working for you. It could be to do with a separation you've had, perhaps a recent one, perhaps one that's more distant in your past, that still the roots of the emotions around that have been active. But if you can let go, it's going to free you up to really flourish once the sun enters your sign on the 22nd of July. Virgo, expect to be in demand over the next 4 weeks. Your popularity can skyrocket, and your challenge could be in knowing which options to take, because everybody can want a piece of you, which is very flattering. But there's another part of you at the moment with Mars and Uranus in your 9th house, which is perhaps wanting to break away from something that's not working so well. It could be a romance, it could be a collective, it could be a group activity, or a set of people or associates that in the past have been very much your thing. Because having Mars so close to Uranus, and they are going to peak next week on the 15th, that's a very, very intense energy. So if the freedom agenda is very strong for you at the moment, because the energies in Cancer is about your future, you may actively be thinking about making a change, about a job, about a partnership, about a friendship. But if you're more content in your situation at the moment, well, expect to get lots of text messages and invites, particularly to social occasions over the next few weeks. This is a new moon that can really enable you, but enable you, Libra, in terms of how you connect to the wider world, but also how you're perceived, because your ruler Venus is so much in the mix. Your ability to cultivate and network and also forge very positive alliances does come from your people skills. They are critically important. We can have the raw talent, we can have experience, we can have knowledge, but at the end of the day, it's that interface. And someone really powerful could really be taken with what you have to offer. It's just with the South Node in your sign and the North Node in your sector of relating, you may have to toggle a little bit. You might not get everything on exactly the terms that you want, but the chance to raise your profile, achieve more acclaim and recognition is definitely there over the next 4 weeks. Scorpio, if you recall, if you watched the introduction, the fixed star that applies to this event is very much about travel and journeying, but that could be true of you in particular, because the collective that's in Cancer, including Venus, is about expansion, it is about travel, can be about knowledge. And the T-square that goes between the position of the North Node in your 6th house and the South in your 12th just suggests that knowledge could be to do with your health. Not necessarily your health in the physical context, more in terms of the holistic approach to our well-being. I feel we do get caught up quite a lot in how do we feel in terms of our energy, but that's often part of how we're feeling in ourselves. So if you can gain and garner more information to guide your diet, your fitness, how you approach different things, if you go away somewhere where you do get lots of relaxation or lots of stimulation, I think that can be a really marvellous thing too. If those options are not possible for you at the moment, certainly try to freshen things up over the next 3 or 4 weeks. Try to be a bit more spontaneous. It could actually be truly cathartic. So Sagittarius, the total solar eclipse and the North Node in your 5th house is really been urging you to evoke the passion and the dynamism, which is very much part and parcel of your sign, that perhaps in some ways Saturn has been quelling over the last 15 months. But this event is very much about transformations. But the transformations could be around something that you have in the past felt very invested in. Now that could be an interest, it could be a hobby, it could be a way of earning money, it could be around a romantic relationship. And if so, it could be at a critical point over the next few weeks because of that nodal axis feeding into this event. The 8th house can definitely be a time of change, but it also can be a time of new beginnings. But when we have a new beginning, it's like the cycle of life. There may be something that we have to release in order to create the space for something new to come in. What are you wanting to bring into your world? If you really set your intentions to that, you'll unlock the value of this particular lunation. So Capricorn, the full moon in your sign across the 21st and 22nd of June will be followed by another in your sign on the 21st of July. And both definitely ask some big questions about certain involvements or certain connections. It could be that you've been collaborating somewhere and that has come under the astral microscope. But in a purely romantic relationship situation, having Venus so close to this particular event is slam dunk good fortune. However, it doesn't mean to say that everything is assured because of having the North Node in your 4th house of emotion. If you're connecting to someone that you find positive in lots of ways, but you don't feel that emotional rapport, well, that's a question that's really important and it does need addressing. But then again, it's important not to think that everything has to be perfect. We all have commonalities. If you're putting some of those areas that have worked to one side because something is out of balance, try to just keep that in your thinking because it will help to seize the opportunity to create greater harmony and cooperation over the next 4 weeks with this particular new moon. So Aquarius, it may sound dreadfully dull, but the 6th house new moon is about things like organisation, physical health, order, work, routine, chores. Can be about pets, which can be delightful of course, but generally those areas don't sound very alluring. But Venus is in the mix. And if you are in a romantic situation with the nodal axis putting an emphasis on communication, it could be by thinking about and then addressing some of the needs of a partner in terms of their practical situation, that you can do little things, little thoughtful things that actually can be very good for the relationship. But the 6th house is about those everyday matters. And if you're wanting to relaunch in some ways and be more virtuous in your approach over the next 4 weeks, well, the platform's there to go for it. So Pisces, this can be one of the best new moons of the whole year for you because the glorious and rather alluring Venus is so close to the sun and the moon in house 5. House 5 is where we can really exude a sense of warmth, affection, positivity, but also give ourselves some real encouragement to be a bit more daring, to go outside our comfort zone. I'm not saying you should ignore how you feel, that's very Cancerian. But if you do want to be more playful, get together with friends, go on a date, revive an existing tie by being a bit more spontaneous, go for it. Because, you know, if you do spend a little bit of money, perhaps on good food, a gathering, a celebration, I feel that actually it will do you so much good, even if it does hit your bank balance just that little bit. It's been a real pleasure being with you. Thank you so much for being with me for this new moon special. Have a great Cancer new moon. Take care and goodbye.